Let us study Protozoa. The term Protozoa, singular protozoan, comes from two Greek words, protos and zoon. Protos means first and zoon means animal, which is traditionally referred to as chemo-organotrophic protists. So, protozoa are single-celled eukaryotic organisms that belong to the kingdom Protista. They are characterized by their ability to move independently and often feed on organic matter such as bacteria or other microorganisms. Protozoa are diverse and are found in a variety of environments such as fresh and saltwater, soil, and as parasites in animals and humans. A discipline that studies about protozoa is called protozoology. Let us see characteristics of protozoa. Protozoa are unicellular organisms that lack cell wall. Protozoa may be free or parasitic. Free living protozoan means they live independently in natural environments such as freshwater, seawater, or soil. They do not rely on a host for survival, but instead they feed on organic matter like bacteria, algae, or small particles in the environment. Being parasitic means they live inside or on other organisms, what we call the host organism, to obtain nutrients, often at the expense of the host. They may cause disease in their host organisms, like humans, animals, or plants. Most protozoa are aerobic. That means these protozoa require oxygen to survive and carry out cellular respiration. That means they use oxygen to metabolize nutrients and produce energy, what we call ATP, efficiently. They are all eukaryotic cells. That means they have true nucleus. When we see their size, most protozoa are microscopic, but some are macroscopic. Most protozoa locomote by pseudopodia, flagella, cilia, and direct cell movement, but some are sessile or non-movable, like Plasmodium. Protozoa have different nutrition mechanisms. The first one is autotrophic mechanism that they manufacture their own nutrients via photosynthesis. They also use heterotrophic nutrition that depend on other organisms or organic substances for their food. They cannot synthesize their own food like autotrophs. That means they can follow free living or symbiotic mode of life. In this case, free living protozoa ingest solid food particles such as bacteria, algae, or smaller microorganisms from the environment. That means the food is just engulfed, ingested, and absorbed. In case of symbiotic mode of life, symbiotic protozoa are protozoa that live in close association with another organism in a relationship where at least one party benefits. The nature of the relationship varies and can be classified into the following types. It might be mutualistic. In this case, both protozoa and their host benefit from the association. For example, termite get protozoa, ruminant get protozoa, and others that form commensalism forms of association like Entamoeba coli within the human intestine and parasitic protozoa that benefit themselves at the expense of the host like Plasmodium and Trypanosoma. The other is saprophytic nutrition or saprozoic. In this case, protozoa absorb dissolved organic materials from their surroundings. When we see their habitat, they live on aquatic or terrestrial environments. Protozoa reproduce asexually by fission, budding, and cyst formation, and sexually by conjugation or syngamy. This is a union of male and female gametes to form zygotes. When we see reproduction in protozoa, Most protozoa are asexual and reproduce in one of the three ways. The first way is fission. This occurs when a cell divides evenly or equally to form two new daughter cells. In the second case, budding. This is a mechanism that occurs when a cell divides unevenly or unequally to produce two daughter cells. Multiple fission or schizogony is a mechanism that occurs when the nucleus of the cell divides multiple times before the rest of the cell divides. Then each nucleus separates into a daughter cell and hence produces many daughter cells that contain a nucleus. Sexual reproduction also occurs during the life cycle of most protozoa. In this case, a distinctive feature of ciliates is presence of two types of nuclei, tiny micronuclei and large macronuclei. A cell has one or more nuclei of each type. A genetic variation can happen due to conjugation. This conjugation is a sexual process in which two individuals exchange haploid micronuclei but do not reproduce. Ciliates generally reproduce both asexually by binary fission and sexually through conjugation. In case of asexual reproduction, the ciliate divides into two genetically identical daughter cells. It involves mitosis of the micronucleus and simple division of macronucleus. Then the cytoplasm splits in a process called cytokinesis. This is the most common methods of reproduction to increase the population rapidly. The second part of reproduction to complete their full life cycle is sexual reproduction via conjugation. In this case, two ciliates come together and exchange genetic material. The micronucleus undergoes meiosis and one haploid nucleus from each ciliate is exchanged. The exchanged nuclei fuse with the remaining haploid nucleus in each ciliate to form genetically diverse diploid micronucleus. In this case, no new individuals are formed, but genetic recombination occurs. This enhances genetic variability to increase adaptability to environmental changes. Each macronucleus typically contains multiple copies of the ciliate's genome. Genes in the macronucleus control the everyday functions of the cell, such as feeding, waste removal, and maintaining water balance. As we can see from the diagram, two cells of compatible mating strains align side by side and partially fuse. Each cell produces four haploid micronuclei through meiosis. Then, three micronuclei of each cell disintegrate or disappear. The remaining one micronucleus in each cell divides by mitosis and produces two micronuclei. The two mating cells then exchange or swap one micronucleus. Then the two linked cells separate. The two micronuclei here fuse and produce diploid nucleus. The diploid nucleus then produces eight diploid micronuclei through three rounds of mitotic cell division. From the eight diploid micronuclei, four micronuclei develops to become four macronuclei. Then eventually, this cell enters into two rounds of binary fission and produce four daughter cells. That means in the first round, a cell produces two daughter cells and then the two daughter cells yield four daughter cells in the second round of binary fission. This cell also follow the same asexual reproduction mechanism and produce or yield four daughter cells through two rounds of binary fission. So these two cells of compatible mating strains produce 8 daughter cells by using both sexual or conjugation and asexual reproduction processes or mechanisms. Let us see nutritional mechanisms of protozoa. Protists most of the time receive nutrients from the breakdown of organic matter in aerobic or anaerobic environments, like protists that live in animals' intestine. Some protists, such as Euglena, receive nutrients from organic matter and make their own food through photosynthesis, since they have chlorophyll. Generally, protists obtain their food in one of the three ways. The first way is absorption. Food is absorbed across the protist's plasma membrane. The second mechanism is ingestion. In this case, cilia outside the protist create a wave-like motion to move food into a mouse-like opening in the protista called cytostome. The third mechanism is engulf. This is the process of encircling and pull the food into the cell using phagocytosis by using pseudopods or falsifieds. Food is digested in the vacuole after the food enters the cell. The vacuole is membrane-bounded organelle. The waste products are then excreted by using a process called exocytosis. Common diseases caused by protozoa. Most protozoa are not harmful. They are beneficial in the environment because they make the environment more productive, like improve the quality of water by eating bacteria and other particles. But there are a few disease-causing protozoans that cause human disease like malaria, African trypanosomiasis, giardiasis, Chagas disease, leishmaniasis, toxoplasmosis, and cryptosporidiosis.